It's a strange thing how women fall hardest for the man who seems to care the least. The one who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't call 100 times. The one who, in her eyes, should have been forgettable becomes unforgettable. Why? Because power is silent, and silence speaks louder than words. Women are emotional creatures. They crave intensity, purpose, and strength. But most men these days, they give away their power trying to please. They text too much. They apologize too easily. They beg for validation. And in doing so, they lose all mystery, all value. The man who acts like he's nothing, yet walks with purpose, focus, and discipline becomes everything because he represents what she cannot control. He becomes her obsession. When a woman sees a man, unbothered, emotionally stable, and completely in control of his world, she feels a fire she can't explain. It's not arrogance, it's presence. He doesn't need her approval, he doesn't need her attention, and that's exactly why she gives it. The power of emotional control. Emotional control is the foundation of true power, the silent force that separates men who react from men who lead. In every aspect of life, relationships, business, or self-mastery, the man who can command his emotions rules the game. When a storm hits, most people panic, complain, or surrender. But the man who remains calm, who looks chaos in the eye and doesn't flinch, becomes untouchable. That composure is magnetic. It creates a quiet dominance that others feel but can't define. It's why women are drawn to men who don't overreact, why leaders rise above their peers, and why true kings never explain themselves. Emotional control isn't suppression, it's mastery. It means you feel everything but choose what deserves your energy. You stop being a slave to temporary feelings and become the architect of lasting peace. A man who can stay composed when life burns around him doesn't lose. He learns, adapts, and conquers. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about understanding that control over your emotions gives you control over your destiny. Most people live as emotional reactors, not thinkers. They get angry when disrespected, jealous when ignored, and broken when rejected. But emotional control teaches you to respond, not react. When you react impulsively, you hand over your power to the world, to people, situations, and emotions that don't deserve it. The truth is, emotions are powerful tools when directed, but dangerous weapons when uncontrolled. A man who learns to manage his emotional storms learns to manage his future. It's not that he doesn't feel pain or frustration, he just knows that acting on them weakens him. Emotional control transforms chaos into clarity. It allows you to pause, breathe, and decide from logic, not ego. In relationships, this is the difference between losing yourself for someone's attention and keeping your value by walking away with peace. The man who can control his emotions can walk away without anger, stay silent when disrespected, and smile when provoked, because he knows his silence is stronger than any reaction. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, as an example of emotional control in its purest form. Despite ruling one of the most powerful empires in history, Marcus faced betrayal, war, and immense loss. Yet his writings and meditations reveal a man of profound composure. He never allowed anger or sadness to dictate his actions. Instead, he focused on reason, virtue, and purpose. Now, he once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That single truth defines emotional control. Marcus understood that external events are beyond our grasp, but how we respond is always within our command. When a man embraces that philosophy, nothing can break him. He stops expecting life to be easy and instead becomes strong enough to endure its storms. His peace becomes unshakable because it no longer depends on anyone or anything outside himself. Emotional control also redefines masculinity. Modern society tells men to express everything, to pour out feelings without restraint. But a man who constantly expresses without reflection isn't strong. He's unstable. Strength isn't about never showing emotion. It's about knowing when and how to show it. Real men aren't robots. They're disciplined warriors who can feel deeply without being consumed. In a world where everyone overreacts, calmness becomes a superpower. Imagine being the man who doesn't crumble under stress, who doesn't need validation, and who never lets someone else's chaos disturb his peace. That kind of stability is rare, and that rarity is what makes it powerful. Emotional control gives you the ability to make choices from clarity, not from fear or ego. It's what allows you to stay loyal to your mission even when emotions try to drag you off course. In love, emotional control is everything. Women aren't drawn to emotionless men. They're drawn to men who don't get lost in emotion. The man who can stay grounded when she tests him, who doesn't beg when she pulls away and who doesn't explode when challenged, becomes irresistible. His control creates safety, certainty, and respect. When a woman feels that she can't shake his balance, she feels his strength. That's why the man who acts like he's nothing often becomes everything, because his worth isn't built on her approval. He doesn't chase validation, he is validation. Emotional control keeps a man from becoming desperate or dependent. It gives him the power to love without losing himself, to care without being consumed. When a man has mastered his emotions, he can walk through heartbreak, disappointment, or rejection and still stand tall, calm, and focused. In the battlefield of life, emotions are like fire. They can cook your food or burn your house down. Without control, they destroy. With discipline, they create greatness. Emotional control transforms weakness into wisdom. Every time you resist reacting to something small, you strengthen the muscle of self-mastery. Every time you stay calm when others panic, you prove your dominance. Think of it this way. People remember how you made them feel. And a man who stays composed in conflict earns respect. Even enemies respect discipline. A boss respects an employee who doesn't crumble under pressure. A woman respects a man who doesn't argue when tested. Control is not repression. It's strategy. It's the understanding that your emotions should serve your purpose, not sabotage it. Emotional control is what keeps kings calm in war, leaders focused in chaos, and men unshaken in heartbreak. Ultimately, emotional control is the highest form of self-respect. When you master it, you stop allowing temporary emotions to create permanent damage. You stop saying words you'll regret, making choices you'll hate, and chasing things that weaken you. You realize that not every situation deserves your reaction. Not every insult deserves your response. And not every loss deserves your tears. Your energy becomes sacred. You begin to move with intention, not impulse. Every step becomes a choice, not a reaction. And in that stillness, that quiet confidence, lies a power few ever reach. Because the man who can control himself doesn't need to control others. He doesn't need chaos to feel alive. He doesn't need validation to feel worthy. His peace becomes his crown and his calm his kingdom. Women chase what they can't tame. There's a mysterious truth in human nature. People crave what they can't control, and women especially are drawn to the strength they can't shake. When a man is completely self-contained, when his energy doesn't depend on her approval, he becomes magnetic. It's not arrogance that attracts her, it's unpredictability. The man who doesn't need to be understood, who doesn't beg for attention, who doesn't crumble when ignored, he triggers something deep within her emotions. She feels a mix of curiosity and frustration that turns into desire. It's the paradox of attraction. She doesn't chase comfort, she chases mystery. A man who is always available, predictable, and desperate to please quickly becomes invisible, but the one who remains calm, self-seekered, and slightly distant becomes unforgettable. Because deep down, she doesn't want to be someone's whole world. She wants to enter a world that already has meaning without her. The moment she feels she can't fully possess him, that's when she feels alive. The untamed energy of a man on a mission calls to something primal within her. Not because she wants to own him, but because she wants to be near the fire that doesn't burn for her alone. A woman's deepest emotional addiction is not to love itself, but to the challenge that comes with earning it. When a man is difficult to define, when he's not easily impressed, she feels an intense need to prove her value. The man who doesn't rush to reply, who doesn't explain himself, who doesn't overshare, creates a psychological chase. He stands as a riddle, and her instinct pushes her to solve it. Not about games or manipulation, it's about power dynamics. Women are emotional, intuitive, and spiritually driven, and they feel drawn to anything that vibrates with strong, independent energy. The man she can't tame becomes her emotional puzzle, because he represents everything she wants to feel: control, power, and freedom. But ironically, she only feels those things in his presence, because he doesn't give them to her easily. That's what makes the attraction powerful. It's not about physical beauty or charm. It's about the emotional distance that demands respect. She doesn't fall for his words, she falls for his stillness. There's a story of a woman who once loved a wandering poet. He was quiet, mysterious, and always lost in his work. She tried everything to make him hers: affection, patience, even silence. Yet, no matter what she did, he always remained half a step away, as if his soul belonged somewhere else. He wasn't cold, he was simply dedicated to something greater than love, his purpose. Years passed, and she found herself unable to forget him, not because he gave her everything, but because he didn't. He taught her something deeper, that true strength lies in being unpossessable. She realized that the fire she loved in him was never meant to warm her alone. It was meant to light the world. That story isn't about heartbreak, it's about revelation. It shows that the man who is guided by something larger than emotion, by mission and meaning, becomes timeless in her memory. He leaves a mark, not because he stayed, but because he remained true to himself. In relationships, the dynamic of pursuit is often misunderstood. When a man gives himself completely too soon, when he overexpresses emotion before it's earned, he unknowingly kills attraction. Women don't lose interest because they are cruel. They lose interest because they no longer feel the spark of uncertainty. That small tension, that emotional unpredictability, is what fuels the bond. It's the difference between admiration and attachment. When she feels that he could walk away at any time, her emotions heighten. The man who doesn't try to prove his worth makes her want to discover it. The man who doesn't chase becomes the one she can't stop thinking about. Because he mirrors back a truth she rarely admits. She wants a man who leads himself, not one who needs her to feel whole. She doesn't want a boy seeking validation. She wants a man who's already validated by his purpose. Every strong woman secretly respects the man she can't control. It challenges her ego, but it awakens her feminine energy. A woman doesn't want dominance in the form of aggression. She wants presence in the form of emotional control. When a man doesn't crumble under pressure, doesn't get lost in arguments, doesn't lose his focus, she feels safe, even if she doesn't admit it. His strength gives her space to feel her emotions fully without fear of breaking them. That's why women test men, not to destroy them, but to measure them. She wants to see if his strength is real or just an illusion. The one who fails the test reacts emotionally. The one who passes it stays calm, patient, and focused. That's the man she chases. The one who doesn't fight for approval but moves with self-assurance. His stability becomes her comfort, and his emotional independence becomes her addiction. When a woman realizes she can't shake a man's peace, her curiosity turns into obsession. It's not because she's weak, it's because she senses strength. She wants to understand. The man who doesn't fall into her emotional traps, who listens more than he speaks, who can say no without guilt, stands out in a world of men desperate for attention. His restraint becomes mysterious. She starts asking herself why he doesn't chase, why he doesn't break, why he doesn't need. That curiosity keeps him alive in her thoughts long after others fade. The irony is that the moment a man truly stops needing her validation, that's when he receives it. Because women aren't attracted to dependency, they're attracted to direction. They feel magnetized by a man who moves forward with or without them. That's the essence of what they chase. Not the man himself, but the unshakable energy that surrounds him. The truth is, a man becomes irresistible not by trying to be untamable, but by living a life that cannot be tamed. When his mission outweighs his emotions, when his focus is greater than his desire, when his values stand taller than his impulses, he becomes free. And freedom is what she feels drawn to. She doesn't fall in love with him for his looks, his wealth, or his words. She falls for his discipline, his silence, his self-respect. She falls for the way he chooses purpose over comfort, control over chaos. In a world full of men who give themselves away too easily, the man who remains whole becomes the ultimate rarity. She may never fully understand him, but that's exactly why she'll never forget him. The untamable man doesn't resist love, he just never lets it cage him. And that's what makes her chase him. Not to own him, but to feel, even for a moment, the strength of a spirit that bows to no one. Tension is the currency of power. In a world where everyone screams to be seen, the man who stays silent becomes the loudest. Attention has become the rarest and most valuable currency, not money, not fame, not love, but the ability to make others focus on you without even trying. The moment you start giving your attention freely, you lose your power. The moment you start chasing validation, you teach others that your worth depends on them. Real power begins when you decide where your energy goes and who truly deserves your time. Attention is not just about looking, it's about presence. When you give someone your full focus, you hand them influence over you. But when you withdraw that focus and redirect it to your mission, your growth, your purpose, you reclaim your strength. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Those who understand this truth stop begging to be seen and start building something that can't be ignored. Attention is not gained by trying harder to impress. It's earned by becoming someone impossible to overlook. Most people live their lives desperate to be noticed, posting for likes, talking to be heard, and chasing people who don't care. But a man who values his attention values his power. He doesn't waste his time explaining, defending, or proving himself. His silence speaks where words would fail. When he walks into a room, people feel his energy before he even speaks. Why? Because he's not trying to be seen. He already knows who he is. Attention follows certainty. It follows those who don't need it. The man who doesn't seek attention controls it. The one who needs none of it attracts all of it. He who conquers himself is greater than he who conquers 1,000 in battle. The battle of life isn't fought with force, it's fought with focus. And the one who directs his attention with purpose always wins because he refuses to let the noise of the world drown out his mission. The truth is, attention defines value. Whatever people give their focus to grows, whatever they ignore fades. That's why discipline and detachment are the twin pillars of strength. The man who can control his attention is the man who shapes his destiny. He doesn't react to distractions, emotional games, or shallow desires. He knows that the world will always try to pull his gaze toward the meaningless, but he stays fixed on what builds him. Power is not about control over others, it's control over yourself. When you decide that your energy belongs only to the things that feed your soul, you become rare. You become untouchable. People start to chase your attention, not because you give it, but because you protect it. Your attention becomes sacred, and those who get even a glimpse of it feel its weight. That's real authority. Not in words, but in presence. In relationships, attention decides who holds the power. The one who gives too much loses. The one who gives selectively leads. When a man floods a woman with constant attention, he becomes predictable, easy to read, easy to forget. But the man who gives attention with purpose, calmly, confidently, and sparingly, becomes unforgettable. His focus has value because it's rare. Women don't crave endless praise. They crave the feeling of being chosen by someone who doesn't choose easily. His restraint creates desire. His calmness creates curiosity. The moment he stops chasing and starts choosing, the dynamic changes. She starts to wonder why him. The one who doesn't seek attention becomes the one who receives it. The man who holds back his energy gains something more valuable than attraction. He gains respect. And respect lasts longer than lust ever will. Detachment is a weapon in a world addicted to noise. The masses crave recognition so badly they sell their peace for it. But true power lies in who you ignore. Not everyone deserves access to your energy, and not every situation deserves your reaction. The less you respond to negativity, the more powerful you become. Detachment is not indifference, it's discipline. It's the art of saving your energy for what truly matters. When you master your attention, you master your emotions, your time, and your life. People will try to provoke you just to see if they can steal your focus. Don't let them. Stay unmoved, because the moment you react, they win. The man who cannot be distracted cannot be defeated. He doesn't waste his focus on noise, he saves it for creation. And that's how he builds an empire while others argue in the dust. A great man in history understood one thing: the mind goes where attention flows. What you think about, you become. What you constantly focus on, you attract. That's why attention is not just external, it's internal. You must guard it, not only from people, but from your own mind. Every negative thought, every insecurity, every doubt, they all compete for your focus. But when you learn to redirect that attention toward progress, gratitude, and discipline, everything changes. You stop being a victim of distraction and become a master of direction. You start to move with purpose instead of impulse. You start to notice that peace isn't found in having everything, it's found in not paying attention to what doesn't matter. When your attention serves your purpose instead of your emotions, your entire life aligns. Attention is power because it's the essence of presence. In a world of constant scrolling, comparison, and chaos, the man who can stay still wins. He listens more than he speaks, observes more than he reacts, and creates more than he consumes. Be silent, or let your words be worth more than silence. Power isn't in loudness, it's in control. Every time you resist the urge to respond, explain, or prove, you strengthen your command over yourself. You learn that your attention is your crown. Every time you give it away carelessly, you lower it. But every time you protect it, polish it, and keep it fixed on your mission, it shines brighter. Attention isn't just what you give to others, it's what you give to your purpose, your growth, your evolution. The man who guards it builds a life that doesn't beg for recognition, it demands it. In the end, everything comes down to power, not the kind that controls others, but the kind that controls you. The power to stay calm when the world tests you, the power to remain untamed when others try to change you, the power to guard your attention when the world demands it endlessly. A man who masters these truths becomes unstoppable. Emotional control gives you the strength to rise above impulse and move with precision. Being untamable keeps your soul free, your purpose alive, and your worth unquestionable, and protecting your attention ensures that no one and nothing can steal your peace. Women, success, relationships, and respect all follow the same rule. The more control you have over yourself, the more the world bends toward you. People don't follow those who speak the loudest. They follow those who move the calmest. They follow presence. Every man who has ever reached greatness didn't chase validation, he chased purpose. The moment you stop explaining yourself, stop begging to be seen, and stop letting emotions dictate your path, you become rare. And in a world full of noise, rarity is power. This isn't about arrogance, it's about balance, about being grounded, disciplined, and focused in a time where everyone else is lost in distraction. The calm, the unshaken, the untamable, they don't demand respect, they command it. So walk with quiet confidence, protect your peace, and never trade your power for approval. The world would always test you, but how you respond defines who you are. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be in control of your emotions, your attention, and your energy. Thank you for listening. Stay strong, stay focused, and may you never lose yourself in the noise. God bless you.